Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. But if you're new here, my name is Brittany. I'm a Chicago-based lifestyle content creator. And today we are about to get into all of my favorite things from the month of February. I'm cutting it pretty close because by the time this video comes out, it might be the very last day of February, if not like the day before. And it's like the end of February when I'm recording this. I've just had a lot going on and the month really flew by. But I love doing these videos, so I wanted to just make sure that I got it in anyway. So as you know, February is Black History Month. And if you've been around on my channel for a while and watched any of my favorites videos from last year, I did highlight like in Black History Month, Hispanic Heritage Month, AAPI Month, Pride, things like that. Did highlight in all of my favorites things from those communities. So in honor of Black History Month, all of the things I'm talking about in this video will be like products or movies or things like centering Black people. Regardless of what the federal government says, it is still Black History Month. Diversity, equity, and inclusion remain a core tenet for me, and something that is like I firmly believe is important and like crucial for us to be like a very strong society. So with that being said, let's get into my highlights. Okay, starting with beauty, which is like always my favorite category. So I actually have a couple different products that I'm gonna share, starting with this pink color that I have on my lips. Oh, actually, it might have come off a little bit, but let's see. So this is a pink lipstick from Fashion Fair, the iconic brand Fashion Fair. So this is called Chocolate Raspberry, and this is, I believe this product is literally called like Iconic Lipstick or something like that. I'll have everything that I talk about linked, or all of the products, things that are shoppable, linked in the description. So anyway, this is from the brand Fashion Fair, a very iconic Black beauty brand. I mean, I could get into Fashion Fair, it's like a whole separate thing, but Fashion Fair was the first makeup brand I ever bought makeup from. That's like where my mom bought her makeup from, my grandma, and like, I mean, it really was until honestly, maybe like Makeup Forever, Fenty, like brands like that, was really the only brand that you could find good quality makeup for Black people. It was literally like for us, by us. So the reason I'm talking specifically about this pink lipstick, which I hope it looks pink in this lighting. It's looking like, I mean, it is a pink raspberry, so it's looking like very mauve-y, but I will say, like, as someone with like, as a Black person, and like, I mean, my skin is very like deep, I guess you could say, and I feel like finding pinks, oranges, and reds are really, like, lipsticks are really hard if you're anywhere in those shade ranges, because the undertones just like never really work out that well. But this lipstick, like, this is, like I said, Chocolate Raspberry. It's a very pretty pink. I wore this a lot last year, and I'm trying to get back into wearing it this year. But I just feel like it has, the pigment is really good, the undertones are really good, and it is just like a very rich pink, which again, like I said, can be hard to find. So I mean, I like most products from Fashion Fair. I'm like a little bit impartial though, or a little bit biased though, because like I said, it was the first makeup brand I ever shopped from or ever bought from. And right now, the only place you can buy Fashion Fair is at Sephora, because they essentially like went out of business and then like got sold off to a new brand. They're also a Chicago, like originally a Chicago-based brand too, but then got bought by, there's a really good documentary that Sephora did probably 2 years ago about a Fashion Fair relaunching. So anyway, all that to say, I love Fashion Fair. So this is a product I wanted to highlight from this month, and then another product, this is more in the skincare realm, which again, if you've been around my channel for a while, you know skincare is something like I put a lot of I guess like attention into, because like your makeup is nothing if your skincare is not good. Okay, and this product is from Shani Darden, and this is a retinol, so it's called Retinol Reform. And I will be honest, I am bad about, or have been bad about, getting into retinols. I mean, I'm gonna be 37 later this year, so this is the time is now to be really like, I mean, the time was like a couple years ago to really be starting to focus on my skincare. And I mean, I am starting to get like some fine lines and things like that. So I've really in the past couple years been amping it up. And this is a product, I think I actually might have gotten this for free from work now that I'm thinking about it, but I think I've also rebought it. Retinol is not cheap, I will say that. And I do think too, a lot of, obviously if you have an esthetician or dermatologist, consult them, but like things a lot of things can be like a lot of retinols or things with skincare with active ingredients can be sensitive for your skin. So, or like can be sensitive to your skin. So, I mean, Shani Darden is a Black founder. So I always in general, like especially with makeup, skincare, hair care, things like that, I do most times like default to looking at Black owned brands first. Cause again, I know they have designed products with me in mind, which most brands don't tend to, or a lot of brands don't tend to do. So I do really like this retinol. I feel like it's very gentle. I've never had any issues with it. So if you're in the market for a retinol, I would definitely recommend taking a shot at trying out Shani Darden. Okay, so moving from beauty into music. So my favorite album of the month, it's not one that I have on vinyl, and actually is something I do kind of want to get on vinyl. I just listened to it for the first time a few weeks ago and I loved it, but it is Rachel, and shoot, I feel like I'm gonna mess up her name now. Rachel Chinouriri, that's what her last name is. Her new album that came out last year, which is called What a Devastating Turn of Events. So I've heard a lot about her album and I've seen it pop up in a lot of places. She's from the UK also, like a young Black pop artist from the UK. And I saw her name come up a lot and like this album be talked about a lot. And then I just, for some reason, didn't get around to listening to it. Cause I want to say, did it come out early in the year? And there was so much new music that came out last year, but I didn't get a chance to listen to it. And then, and it was like she's not a huge artist, but in a lot of like Reddit threads or things like that, where I would see people talking about like I specifically saw this one thread that was like, can anyone share, because this person was really looking to diversify the type of music that they listen to in terms of pop music, because there can be not a lot of diversity in what's considered pop, but they were asking for recommendations of like Black artists, AAPI artists, like just just wanting to like expand what they listen to. And her album kept being mentioned, and people described it as like alt pop kind of, and I listened to it for the first time, like start to finish. I'd heard like one or two singles, I feel like, from it, but I listened to it from start to finish probably like a few weeks or so ago, and I loved it. It was I'm trying to think of how to describe her sound. Like I feel like if you put like I feel like I always do things like this and just say the most like outlandish mashups, but if you were to put like Billie Eilish, SZA, maybe Solange, like Remy Wolf, all in one, maybe a little Chapel Roan even, all in one artist from the UK, a UK baddie, you would get Rachel Chinouriri, shoot, I hope I'm saying her name right, and her album What a Devastating Turn of Events. It is very like alt pop rock, like it does give a lot of those artists I just mentioned, but also kind of a little like, I don't know, like Avril Lavigne, like early 2000s. So it was really refreshing to listen to. I thought my favorite tracks, let me see, what were my favorite songs? So my favorite songs from it were probably The Hills and It Is What It Is. And I will say, even though I'd heard a little bit about, like I said, I'd heard a little bit about Rachel here and there, I wasn't super familiar with like what people liked or didn't, so I really went into it just like with an open mind, and I really enjoyed listening to it. So will I get it on vinyl? Maybe, if I can find it. I have found or noticed though that smaller UK artists, actually she's going on tour in the US, I think like right now, because I started following her on Instagram and I saw her post about it, and I think she is coming to Chicago. But I feel like artists that are a little small, like even like Flo, which I love my girls Flo, artists from the UK that aren't like mega like an Adele basically, are harder to find their albums on vinyl in the US, or you have to order it from like a UK website or something, and like the shipping is really expensive. At least it's been my experience. If anyone has any tips, let me know. But I really enjoyed that album, and I would definitely recommend giving it a listen. I feel like it just sounds different than anything I'm hearing like right now, or that we hear like right now, especially in like the pop space. So I would definitely recommend checking her album out. And my favorite song of the month, this song actually just came out. I had a different song slated in, but then I heard this one the other day. I think it literally just came out on Friday. Today is Tuesday, so yeah, it just came out like a few days ago. It is Coco Jones' new song, Taste, which I love Coco Jones. She, to me, is someone that is very much an underrated artist. Like, she really gets slept on, and I feel like she's so talented, but I I don't know, I feel like to me, her and Normani are very similar in that like they're very, very talented, very good at what they're doing, but like people just keep sleeping on them a little bit. And I feel like they both also have had a hard time with releasing their like album. Like it's like their labels are maybe like dragging their feet a little bit, but like, I don't know, I'm not in the room, so who knows? But I love Coco Jones. I mean, she's stunning, like so beautiful, so funny. I'm a little bit too old to have watched her on, was she on Disney Channel, right? I think she's on Disney Channel. I was a little bit too old to have watched her on Disney Channel, but like obviously she like started out as an actress, and I just think she's really, really funny. She's very charismatic and she's a really, really great voice. And everything I've ever heard from Coco Jones, I do really like. And this song Taste in particular, for my millennials out there, it like samples or interpolates Toxic by Britney Spears, which I wasn't expecting to hear from a Coco Jones sample. It also makes me start to feel a little old. When I was reading like a Reddit thread about this song and people were like, oh, I love like a throwback. And I was like, oh God, this is a throwback now. But I guess like that song is what, like 15, maybe 20 years old at this point. Anyway, it does like, and there's a little bit of like a hot conversation going on online right now about this song and like how she samples it. But I thought it sounded to me really cool. And I really like how it's like the first time you hear it coming in, the sample of the Toxic sample coming in, it kind of caught me off guard. And then I was like, oh, I like this. So and then she has a full album coming out, I don't know, sometime later this year, in the next couple of months. So I'm excited to check that out and we'll definitely give it a listen. But I love Coco Jones. I love this song. It's just like, it doesn't sound anything like Toxic, but it very much still like kind of all works together. Like, I mean, it's very much like an R&B. I don't know if I would call it a slow jam, but very much like an R&B, but like with a little bit of a tint of Britney Spears in it. So we'll see if Britney speaks out on Instagram about if she's heard it, if she'll take the shirts on Instagram and share her thoughts on it. But I really like that song too, and so would definitely recommend checking it out. Okay, moving into TV, but kind of almost still staying in the music realm a little bit. Favorite show from this month is a docuseries that also came out last year, maybe even the year before. Let's see. Okay, no, it did just come out last year, and it's called Stax, Soulsville, USA. It's on HBO or Max, whatever they're calling themselves these days. And it's like a 4-part docuseries about Stax, the record label. I actually just went to Memphis for the first time last month in January over MLK weekend. And I got a chance to go to Stax Studios because they have like a museum that you can go to. And I mean, I knew a little bit about Stax just in terms of like Isaac Hayes, Otis Redding, artists like that. But I didn't really know much really about the history of the record label like at all. So it was really, really cool to go to and to see, and just to also learn about how it tied into like the history of Memphis a lot too. And so on my flight on the way home, when I was looking for something to watch, this docuseries was on like the United like in-flight like option, or like in-flight entertainment option. So I started watching episode 1, and I don't even know if I finished it on the flight, but then I came home and like picked it up in the next like few days. And it just was so interesting to watch because I just feel like I love music, love listening to music, all of that, but I feel like music, and I'm gonna sound like an old person, like an old head a little bit, but like people aren't doing it like anymore like they used to back in the day. And it's just so interesting to understand, like, as people who listen to music, like we don't always know what goes on behind closed doors with like the labels. And like it is a bit like everything, it's a business, it's about making money, and it's always about who can make the most money. And artists in general a lot of times are not that concerned about making money. They want to make their art, they want to like put out a message. So it was just really interesting to like deep dive into like the history of Stax, how they got started, and a lot of it ties into the civil rights movement because it was in Memphis in the 1960s. And just to learn like the background, I didn't really know how Otis Redding died. I don't know how I didn't know that. And that story was so sad, like the plane crash that happened, and just to learn about like, I don't know, it was just really like just to peel back that curtain and see like what, and like the way that Stax like went down, like what their ultimate demise was, is the epitome of capitalism. And it was sad to see like these people that had put their blood, sweat, and tears like into this, and like are basically being like sued by a bank because like they're trying to make money. And like the head A&R at one point was in jail for no reason. But it also ties a lot back into racism and that like structure in the US, but especially in Memphis at the time, of like this is an artist or a label with a bunch of black artists, like they shouldn't be able to make as much money as they are and like the way that they are. So there's a lot of that tied into it too. So, and I say that in quotes because it's like they should be able to, but the people at the top didn't think they should be able to. But I don't know, I thought it was really interesting. If you love a docu-series, I think you'll really like it. Also, just like hearing all the music being played throughout it was really good. So would definitely recommend checking that out if you have the chance. Okay, and then lastly, finishing with my favorite movie of the month. Okay, actually I have two different like movies. One of them is like a short film, so I don't know if you would consider it a movie, but my favorite movie of the month was One of Them Days, starring SZA and Keke Palmer. I loved that movie. It was so good. I mean, it was so lighthearted, so like, it was just such a feel-good movie. And I mean, especially given the times that we're living in, it was nice to just be able to go somewhere and laugh and just like, and the theater that I was in, and it was basically sold out. I feel like it was pretty full. Everyone was laughing. Like it was like we were all laughing together at a lot of like the same parts, which I feel like adds to like the movie experience too. But like as a quick summary without any spoilers, Keke Palmer and SZA are two roommates, or what are their names? Now Alyssa and now I'm forgetting Keke Palmer's name in the movie, but Alyssa is SZA's character, and they're roommates. They live in South LA. They're in their like mid-20s and they're just trying to figure out life. But essentially like the whole plot point is they can't make rent and they're trying to figure out, they have to pay rent by the end of the day or they're going to be evicted. And obviously there's a bunch of hijinks that come up. It's like a buddy type of movie where it's like, I mean, the whole plot point is them trying to pay the rent, but they run into all these little obstacles and throughout the community on the way. And it kind of reminds me of Friday, I feel like a little bit, but then with like this, with like the Craig and Smokey of it all. And then it was just, I feel like Issa Rae, like her production company, they do such a good job, because it also reminded me a lot of Insecure too, is what I'm sure to start with saying. But I feel like her productions always feel so genuine and so like I didn't live in South LA, but I lived in LA for most of my 20s, and I feel like everything that she produces feels like a love letter to LA, and it's like the city is its own character in the show or the movie or whatever it is, and that's kind of how this felt too. But I feel like the movie was just so relatable in terms of, like I said, I lived in LA in my 20s, but I feel like it can be relatable to no matter where you live. Like you're just trying to like come up, like I need my money. You don't have any money. Like, what are your career goals really? What are you trying to do? And that's like kind of what they're both trying to figure out. What do they want to do with their lives? But like, we all know, or I'll speak for myself, I know the struggle of being like, I need this money today. And like, you're just literally like day by day figuring out how to get by. And like, that can have an impact on how you like, you don't have time to think about the big picture because you're just literally trying to like figure out today. So I just thought it was just so funny too. Like Cat Williams makes an appearance, Janelle James. Well, I feel like those are like the big like guest appearances that you see. And it was so funny. Like it was just a movie where like in a lot of movies that are featuring like all black cast, a lot of times are about something dramatic or traumatic, which obviously there is trauma that happens to anyone, but especially like black people in the United States specifically have been through a lot of trauma. But there's also so much like just like the regular day-to-day life of like people can have fun too and just like have an enjoyable experience but still feel something through it. That's kind of how like this was just like a movie starring all black people, a black cast, about being like, and truly it's about being black, but like there's no trauma to it, which we need more of those. So I loved that movie. I think it might still be in theaters. I feel like it'll probably come to streaming soon. I'm assuming probably like Max or something. And so if you didn't catch it in theaters, like I would definitely watch it at home. Like I said, it's so cute, like so fun. Like I feel like it's a movie I will go back to and watch just like every now and then when I want a little something to watch. So that was my favorite movie. And then like I said, I have a short film also that I wanted to mention. And this is available on YouTube. I'll link to it in the description of my video as well. But it's called The Beauty of Belonging, and it is a short film produced by Sephora. So I work for Sephora. I've mentioned that in like videos before, like Sephora corporate. And so I mostly found out about this because it was like shared out at work, because I don't know if I would have heard about it otherwise. But it's like a 30-ish minute just short film interviewing Sephora employees from like across the globe. So Asia, Europe, US, Latin America, like Canada, like everywhere, and talking about belonging and about how they're, and like from all like different walks of life and different, and like a lot of it is dubbed over in subtitles because it's like people speaking their native languages, but it's just talking about how people maybe feel like they haven't fit into a beauty stereotype or whatever it is, but then, or they haven't felt like they've been able to fit in, or feel like they can find something that represents them, but then throughout like beauty or things like that, or even like specifically working at Sephora and connecting with people, they've been able to feel like they belong. And there are also a lot of brand founders that are in the video too. So Makeup by Mario, Danessa Myricks, the founders of Glow Recipe, talk about like their kind of why they started their brands, or like how they built their brands too. And a lot of it has to do with belonging and making inclusive spaces. So again, I feel like especially in this climate that we're living in, where it seems like people are being othered and being like, anything that's not typical is maybe being made to feel like it's wrong, or it doesn't, you like don't deserve to take up space or things like that. Like, I think this is a very timely film to come out, or just something like when I watched it, it was like a good reminder of like, no, yes, there can be good out in the world, and like this is why things like equity and inclusion are really important, because it does impact regular everyday people and their day-to-day. So I don't know, I just thought, like I said, I think it was really good. It felt very like, it's a really short 30 minutes and it's available on YouTube for free. So it felt very like impactful, I feel like, to watch. So I would definitely recommend taking a look at it. So those are all my favorite things from February. If you've tried any of those things, would love to hear about them. Like I said, like I've said in previous videos, like in a lot of my favorites videos I did last year where I highlighted different heritage months, to me, it's really important, especially when it comes to music, movies, TV, to really diversify the voices that I'm hearing and the stories that I'm hearing, or just the people that are telling those stories, because the world is so diverse. We are so global. There's so much to take in, and everyone deserves a voice and everyone's story deserves to be told. And I feel like it gives you always a good perspective to understand where people are coming from, or why people feel the way that they do about things, and just makes you like a really well-rounded person and human being, able to exist in the society that we live in. So things like, it can seem superficial or whatever to share like this lipstick made by a Black-owned brand, like maybe like it might not be applicable to you, but like maybe it can make you be interested in trying out something else from like a Black-owned, women-owned brand, whatever it is. So anyway, I hope that you found something you can take away from this. And if you've tried any of these things, watched any of these movies or songs or whatever, would love to hear about it in the comments. If you have any recommendations for me too, based on some of these things I talked about, would love to hear those in the comments as well. Make sure to keep checking back monthly for my updated favorites. But if you enjoyed this video, which I hope you did, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to see more content from me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.